everyone. I'm Zen, and today we are talking about why Ragnarok is great. For those of you who don't know, Ragnarok is an anime released on Netflix. Netflix that is about humans challenging the gods for the right to remain in existence for years to come. Um, in 13 battles, I was the one who the first to 7 wins ends as the team determines the fate of humanity. He is super well known, but the anime is one of the most underrated bits of media I have ever seen. The manga is widely revered as beautiful and really good, but the anime tends to get shit for things I don't understand, and topics which we will talk about later in the video. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I want to put out here now before we get started that I am looking for an editor so that I can make my videos more visually interesting instead of just using Google Slides to make these. With that in mind, let's start. So we're going to be going through this match by match, and we are starting with Lubu versus Thor. So basic plot summary is that each of the gods and humans in this show are from history and mythology. Lubu was a Chinese war general in I don't remember what time period he was in. It was when there was still 3 kingdoms of China, so whatever time period that was. And he was revered as one of the strongest men in history. He was a warlord with an unstoppable bloodlust. And who doesn't know Thor, God of Thunder, and a powerhouse among everything. And he was one of the most obvious picks for the god side in the anime. But yeah, this fight is both really good and easily the weakest in the show. This is what I call the most guilty when it comes to the complaints for the people have. But I still like it a lot. But it has a lot of the major complaints people have, which mostly just amounts to too many cuts to the different characters along with way too many long shots, which isn't necessarily a fault to just this fight. There's plenty of fights with it. The long shot especially applies to the next fight we'll talk about, despite being one of the fan favorites. But yeah, let's focus on the praises. Because in terms of everything, you can definitely tell this was is the starting fight. Like, if you played it all in random order, you could always point out order and showed it to a person that had never seen the anime before. They could probably point out that this was the first fight. Right. Mainly because the first episode of the fight, it is literally half of it is the setup to the story, and the other half is the start of the fight, which isn't necessarily a problem, don't get me wrong, but it definitely doesn't help. And this is probably my most major complaint about this fight. It just feels way too short. But sure, it's still like 3 episodes, but still. And I don't consider the length of these fights a detriment to them. I'm gonna say this now. I genuinely hate the people that think these fights should be shorter, because what doesn't make sense to me. Why would you make the fight shorter if it would only take away from how it would definitely take away a lot of the charm that the fights have, which, yeah, this one has a lot of charm to it, don't get me wrong. I really like both Lubu and Thor. I think they're really cool. Thor is shown to not be a heartless guy. He's just so bored of not having a good fight that he is constantly searching for one. And Lubu is the exact same, making them the actual perfect opponents for each other. Even if Thor is kind of a lot stronger than Lubu. Like, it's not really much. Like, Thor All Out versus Lubu All Out. Thor, yeah. But still, it has plenty of good moments. Lubu getting the first actual hit on Thor really shows how Thor isn't trying, and Lubu was easily superior and could have ended the fight at any moment before Thor got properly warmed up. But he doesn't because Lubu wants to see if Thor could actually be the worthy opponent he wants. The best moment of this is whenever Thor actually lands a hit in the early game where Lubu kind of just bounces off of it and gets and just lands on his feet unfazed. And he's like, or stops the hammer's blow entirely. It really shows off the character, off how Lubu is actually all that. Lubu and Thor are on equal grounds. And I honestly believe that in a fist fight, Thor would have lost 10 out of 10 times. Not because he's not stronger, but because Lubu's just that much superior. Honestly, I said that. Honestly, the major reason why Thor might have won was because of Mjolnir, being able to absorb the damage from Lubu's hits. What else to say? I like the backstories. There's not many of them, but Thor's is just showing off how badass he is, and Lubu's is genuinely sweet, showing off why he became a warlord, and how he rose to become so powerful. Plus, showing off his signature move before using it on Thor. Like it's all really cool. Well, I just wish that we could have gotten more. There's plenty more to talk about. I know there is. I guess the cuts to the characters are generally really good. And at some points they can feel unnecessary in this fight, especially. But yeah. Let's see now. Oh yeah. I guess that's about it for this one. Like I said, it's easily the weakest fight in the show, but it's still a really good one. I'd say it's a 7 out of 10 in terms of fights that an anime could have. The pacing's really good, but I generally don't agree with people who say that and even Dragon Ball has better pacing than this, because, I mean, at least it's not a person screaming for half an episode. Oh, I mean, what? I didn't say that. Anyways. Adam vs. Zeus. This is usually the fan favorite. I can see why. It's usually not my favorite. If it's usually 4th place on the ranking, but yeah, I'm gonna get attacked by record Ragnarok fans for saying that. So let's start off with praises and then get to the complaints. Just because there's a lot more praises than complaints, and I want to show people understand I like the fight. In general, I just really like Adam. Like, the guy is a fucking awesome. The guy is awesome. What can I say? He's by far the strongest combatant we may have seen in the series thus far. Maybe Buddha or Lubu could match him since but as is, I'd say in terms of physical strength, Adam's by far the strongest, which makes sense. He's the first man. For those of you who didn't know, Adam was a character in the Bible. He was the first man, the father of all humanity. I really like the contrast between how the two different major Adams in fiction are. With Hasbro Hotel Adam being this senseless dickbag that's violent, well, Oh, Adam from Ragnarok is fights to protect humanity because they're his kids. It's honestly a good contrast, and I like the contrast. But we don't need to talk about Has-Been. I made an entire hour-long video about that as is giving Adam praises as a villain. I like his backstory of why he left, he abandoned Eden. Eve just being accused after resisting as against the serpent. I thought that him just killing the serpent and leaving after eating a bunch of apples, yeah, was really cool. Zeus I have less to say about. In terms of everything, Zeus has just been one of my least favorite characters in the show. He's funny as shit, don't get me wrong, but just because a character's funny doesn't mean I necessarily like him. I mean, hey, I consider Valentino to be one of the funniest characters and has been, I still hate the guy. Okay, like I said, I talk about has-been. In general, I just think that when it comes to comedy, yes, Zeus is definitely by far the funniest character in the show. Oh, but everything else is just a bit meh to me. His moves are cool enough, but from the dynamic of the fight, my God, I love the dynamic of the fight. The two constantly throwing back the same moves at each other. The Adam's ability, just in general, is by far one of the most creative ones, even if it's kind of just an ability taken from other bits of media. Yeah, I mean, how many characters in fiction can you name that have the ability to copy others? The way Adam does it just makes it seem so much more cool, more than anything else. I mean, seriously, I love how it is. Also, just in general, the fight's pacing is pretty good. I won't get into the points just yet, but you'll understand why I say only pretty good and not amazing in a minute or so. Also, I like to see the dynamic of a serious person versus a goofball. I mean, Zeus constantly throwing out funny one-liners and whatnot, while Adam is just dead silent unless he's talking about how he will save humanity. He is just sweet. I like the ending where Adam, even when blind and unable to use his ability, keeps throwing punches until he literally dies, and then keeps throwing punches after he dies. Talk about one of the most Chad fuck you moves. I honestly think that they should have just said Adam wins because if you notice throughout the fight, neither really get off, neither of them land on the ground except for Zeus. Zeus gets knocked on his ass twice in the fight. Once when Adam reverses his time stop, and the second one when Adam dies. Throughout the entire fight, Adam does not fall onto the ground once. Even when literally getting punched when blind and punched in the face, he does not fall back. He stays standing, and then not just that, he takes thousands of blows that are supposed to one-shot any god, or a man alike, and he just is like no, and grabs onto Zeus's head to start throwing his own insta-kill blows. That's such a creative way to use him, and like Adam in general is just one of the most raw characters in the entire show, and I do wish he had won, but beggars can't be choosers, and of course Zeus, the Zeus of all people, would be a winner. Like, story-wise it makes sense. Unfortunately. But yeah. What else? I guess I'll get into the complaints. So, I don't like a lot of the visuals and those concerning Zeus. I consider both his transformations just to be disgusting looking. Like, yes, I know they aren't supposed to be visibly pleasing, but the whole look of him, of his legs and arms growing, just looked goofy to me. And of course, his Adonis transformation actually made me throw up the first time I saw it. I mean, I'm not saying it's terrible, but because both forms look really cool once the transformation's over. I'm just saying that it's not one of my favorite bits. It's oh yeah, and what was the other thing? Oh right, there's way too many of the long shots, like long drawn out shots where the two are just throwing the same one attack. I mean, I guess it makes sense in the terms of how they were just using the same attack over and over again, but it just feels like some of these scenes could have definitely been cut out. Like, he has the opposite problem that Thor versus Lubu had, where it just feels way too long. Like, well, the fact the fight actually lasted 7 minutes according to show's time, in the show time, it just feels like it was way too long. Like, but that's just my own personal complaint. I know some people probably disagree with me and pick apart at that statement. But yeah, I didn't even get to talk about how some of the scenes that Zeus does also is really cool. Like him snapping his head back into place. Or him literally stopping time. I'm like, yeah. But let's move on to Kojiro Sasaki versus Poseidon. This is a fight, my favorite fight with my favorite character in the show and least favorite. Yeah, let's get this out of the way. I hate Poseidon. Like, yeah, he's supposed to be an unlikable dickbag, but there's not a single redeeming quality to him. At least with a character like Hajun, I can think of like he's visibly cool. But Poseidon's attacks just aren't visibly all that much. I mean, it's cool to watch them constantly bounce off Kojiro's sword. But yeah, Kojiro heavily carries this fight. But don't get me wrong, it's not like Poseidon doesn't have some moments. Him literally going so fast that Kojiro's those predictions don't like it's really cool. And also the fact that Poseidon is constantly shown as this dominant force that no one could ever hope to beat. And then Kojiro beats him. Yeah, I was wondering how long it took about talk until I actually started getting into Kojiro, but yeah, not long. Kojiro is one of my top 3 favorite characters in anime, and for good reason. He's really fucking well written. One of my favorite parts about this is how the fight itself is only technically 2 episodes, because the first 2 episodes is Kojiro forming a plan while his and Poseidon's backstories play then, and only 2 other backstories, short 1-minute backstories play during the other episodes, which really makes the fight feel like a consistent, well-paced piece. Also, a lot of the character cutaways are shown during the first 2 episodes as well, which is also a really good choice. Like, just in general, it focuses more on the fight and less on everything else, which is something I really like about this fight, because it always feels fast-paced. Nothing feels drawn out. It is the only fight without any long shots, as far as I could tell, outside of Kojiro's sword being broken where Poseidon's attack lingers a bit too long on screen, but hey, that's not exactly. If that's the only one shot that feels way too long, then yeah, that's a good thing. And yeah, and Kojiro's backstory in general is just really fun, showing how he learned to predict his opponents through fighting and mirroring them, basically teaching himself swordsmanship and forming his own entire fighting style. plus I love the title he got. Number one under the sun. That is fucking awesome as a title. And I also like History's Greatest Loser. I just think there's a charm to it. Yeah, but number one under the sun definitely fits better. The intro to Kojiro was also one of my favorites. Like, I love Zeus's, I love Adam's. Lubu's is cool. Thor's is fucking awesome. Hercules and Jack have cool intros. All of the characters have cool intros. Even Poseidon, who has one of the rawest intros in the show. It's just something about Kojiro riding in her boat while Heimdall talks about how despite never winning a fight in his life, he's still the greatest swordsman in history. Along with entering the arena and literally upstaging Poseidon by just tapping the ground, causing ripples all across the arena. That's one of the coolest visuals in the show. And beautifully animated. I like how consistently throughout the fight it's shown how Kojiro's predictions are the only way to actually beat Poseidon, and with him even getting the first actual blow on Poseidon than anyone has ever gotten on him. A fun detail that the show points out is that Poseidon has never been hit, even touched by a being, unless it's to shake their hand or something, like, unless it's friendly. If an attack is going at him, he's never been touched by it, and that's because he's way too fast. Here's the problem with that. Kojiro's predictions allows him to see through the speed, and he didn't land the actual first blow. And technically the first damaging blow was dealt by Poseidon, but still. Also, a fun detail is that it literally displays throughout the fight that the only person that ever could have had a chance of beating Poseidon was Kojiro. Because any of the other humans just wouldn't have been able to get through the speed and sheer power of Poseidon. Even Adam would have stood a chance. But Kojiro, well, yeah. He's actively shown on that just because he's never won a fight in his life, if that doesn't mean that he's not going to win this one. And as the fight goes on, it slowly makes you believe that this loser old man could genuinely beat one of the strongest gods, which is another detail I like, that it really shows off how the show wants to go, because it kills off one of the most known gods in history, Poseidon, and just show off of how no one's safe in this show. Any god can show up. I mean, not any god. We know the 13 fighters, but any god or man can show up, and they will either die or survive. It doesn't matter who they're facing at what time, and which really does add a level of unpredictability to the show. What else is there? I really like Hurst. I haven't talked about it yet, but the Valkyries are all cool, but Hurst is where it really started getting interesting, because just the concept of a Valkyrie that has two personalities and that factors into how their weapon form works is really fucking cool. Well, I mean, seriously. The fact she can become two weapons because she has two personalities is just really creative and fun. Ignore that. Just checking the time. Why is it? Ignore that. But yeah. And then there's the speeches. By God. I'm sorry, but I am convinced that forever, Kojiro will have by far the best speeches in anime. every word he speaks is so memorable and quotable. Everything he says is either heartbreaking or heartwarming. And I mean, seriously. Yeah, I like how his personality, if anyone can become better with training and hard work, is contradicted by Poseidon and his morals of perfection and action of the gods, and how no man could ever stand a chance to them because they are naturally born perfect. I like how the only connection between these two fighters is the contradictions between them and their morals. Every character in this series has something in common with them that makes them the fight. Thor and Lubu were the strongest of their eras. Zeus and Adam were the first of their species. Jack and Hercules is good and evil. Raiden and Shiva, martial artists. Buddha and Zeofuku / Haijun, gods. Gods of Hindu gods, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. No, Buddhist god. What is the difference between those two religions? I'm gonna get mauled for this. And sorry, any Buddhists / Hindus that I offend. But yeah. But yeah, every fight has a connection. Action, except for this one, where the two fighters seemingly couldn't be more different. I mean, seriously, even their design choices, with Poseidon being this young man, despite being so much older than Kojiro, and Kojiro, being this old man and it really shows the difference between the two. I like the detail how Poseidon really doesn't meet Kojiro's gaze until he finally acknowledges Kojiro as a threat, actively trying to kill the man. And the ending. By God, the ending is by far the perfect way to end this. Kojiro, activating a hidden ability of perfect prediction, where he predicts everything in the known universe, is fucking awesome. Like, the way it's described makes it seem like Kojiro was literally unstoppable by any means. No one could ever hold a candle to him. And it's shown so well, with Kojiro elegantly flowing through the attacks, and just seemingly walking by them as they're thrown, and seemingly teleporting side to side as he does so. And then finally getting up close to Poseidon, and then the first time that Kojiro was the one to close the distance. Because, consistently throughout this fight, Poseidon keeps the distance because his trident is more suited for that. Yes, Kojiro gets some hits off, but it's because his sword's extended range. And yes, he does technically close the distance at the beginning of the fight, but Poseidon immediately gets out of it. This is the only time where Kojiro has an active chance to kill Poseidon at any moment, and he takes it. Poseidon bringing down his trident just for his arm to get sliced off and his trident cut in half. Poseidon literally doing whatever it takes to kill him by grabbing the trident again and going with his other hand, and that getting cut off, and then a detail I'm sure most people will never notice, where it's the callback to a previous scene where it's stated that Gojo's old sensei states that if you can't fight with your hands, to fight with your teeth, and Poseidon actually picking up the trident with his teeth and going for the kill that way. And it's so genius. Yes, and something that I'm sure most people don't even actually notice the first time they watch. And then the ending's sweet, with Kojiro talking about how good it feels to win, in his first ever victory with all the swordsmen cheering him on. Stephen sharing a lot of concern by both personalities. And he's like, yeah, by God, the most wholesome ending to a fight. And by far my favorite fight, not just in Record of Ragnarok, in all of fiction. Hercules vs. Jack the Ripper. Yeah, this was one of my most anticipated fights of the series. It is like, when I first watched and saw that cliffhanger, I was by far enraged that we didn't get to see Jack the Ripper in action that season. And yeah, both these are my second and third favorite characters, which may surprise you, but I like Jack a bit more than Hercules. And do not complain in A1. Like I said, Hercules is my third favorite character in the show. I like both of them. Jack the Ripper was by far one of the most had to get right characters in the show. Like, there were only two characters that you had to get right in the entire show, which was Adam and Jack. Reason why is because they're so important, such known characters. They are by far the two most recognizable characters in the entire show, and they do it really well. Hercules is by far not Hercules. Jack is by far the most memorable character out next to Kojo. Having so many nice scenes that show off both his malice and why he's not heartless. His backstory is by far the most well-developed one. I love Kojo's, but I can't deny the facts. Jack's backstory is the most well-developed backstory in the entire show. Really giving a sense of why this man became so heartless. And Hercules. I'm glad they didn't just go with the whole Son of Zeus story again, because while it's not accurate to the history books, it's definitely a fresh take on him, and with him becoming related to Zeus thanks to drinking Zeus's blood and inheriting his power. Something that I also like about Something I also like is that it's shown on Hercules having this constant power advantage was Jack having to duck and weave through the attacks. Hercules doesn't even get an actual head-on direct attack throughout the entire fight. Except for once, and when it does, Jack is actively injured throughout by the attack. I also just like how much of a little shit Jack is. I'm sorry, but I was wondering how long it could go on before I started talking about his Valkyrie weapon. It hasn't been too important to talk about the weapons themselves in these fights. But with Jax, it's absolutely something I need to bring up. And that's how genius it was to give Jack the Ripper a weapon that weaponizes an entire fucking city. And if you didn't know, Jack's weapon is pretty much just anything he touches becomes a divine weapon, basically making the entire city of London, the place where this battle takes place, a weapon of his own device. One of the coolest possible ways they could have portrayed Jack the Ripper. And his dialogue with his scenes with Yoke in general was just really cool and fun. With Yoke being this bratty, self-centered person, but Jack trying to work with her, and when she refuses, using his own innate ability to force her to bond with him, which is just a really, really good way to set it up. Along with the fact that Yoke genuinely gets a care for Jack after seeing what Jack's life was like, and along with his dialogue with Hercules. Just in general, a really fun way of doing all that. Also, I just really like Jack's ability in this fight. Kojo's prediction was cool and all, but Jack literally being able to see the emotions of people and use that to determine the best way to beat them. Well, not really beat them, but the best way to kill them, trying to adapt it to their fear. is really cool, and the way it bounces off of Hercules just being this indomitable spirit that doesn't fear Jack no matter what he does is really cool. Also, I like that halfway through the fight, Hercules just stops hating Jack, instead starts wanting to save him. Yes, the way he wants to save him is by killing him, but you know, everyone has their own ways of doing things, I guess. Oh yeah, there's also not many long shots again in this fight, which is good. I'd like the animation in season 2 definitely stepped up a notch, with a lot more fluid and well-paced scenes. Jack's bag of tricks is really cool. The fact that he has so many different options to attack Hercules with, it really makes it believable that that the weakest human shown thus far can beat one of the strongest gods shown thus far. Which is really fucking cool. I don't know what I can say about this fight that hasn't already been said though. So yeah, I'm just gonna move on, and yeah. Raiden versus Shiva. I'm just gonna get this out of the way now. It's my pick for the second worst fight of the show. I mean, it's still an 8 out of 10, don't get me wrong, but when you have but the past 3 rounds have all been in goddamn works of art. Yeah. This is by far with a drop in quality, but at the same time, I don't care because it's still a really good fight. I mean, seriously, who can? Seriously, I really like both commands in this one. Raiden's just really entertaining but obviously the one that steals the show this time around is Shiva. His endless. Shiva throughout the rounds has been by far one of the funniest characters in the show. Oh, next to Zeus. And it's because of how he just never gets to fight. And it's a funny running gag that isn't just saved for one of the last rounds. And I'm glad it did, because it would have definitely gotten boring after a while. But as is, it definitely is good. It only kept around for 3 rounds. And then one of them wasn't even him complaining about it. So yeah. And yeah, there's not much I can really say. No annoying long shots or anything in this one. The Valkyrie and Raiden are definitely the most wholesome part of the entire fight, with the two constantly showing way for each other, which I really hope that throughout the future rounds it shows the Valkyrie and the human showing actual concern for each other and interacting more. We've seen the Valkyries can interact with actually in their weapon form to both Jack and Hyuk, and Kojo and Hest, but it was only shown in brief moments. Raiden and Thud make such a good couple. I didn't look up her name at all. You can't prove anything. Anyways, yeah. I don't have a lot to say about the fight itself. It's really cool, don't get me wrong, with a lot of good abilities and exchanging it being shown. The backstory is sweet and all with both sides. But I don't know what I can really say. It's cool that Shiva slowly loses his hands, and literally really needing to be for them to be healed by some weird technology during the 6th round. But there's just nothing I can really say that adds to show how cool the fight is. There's no specific compliments that come to my mind immediately. Really, it's just a really cool fight with a lot of good abilities shown off. Plus, I like the detail that Sumo's literally said that that even with his natural strength, without Sumo he would have lost almost instantly. He really showing how well he put his training to use during the fight. Right, so yeah, really cool. Moving on. To yet another fight. I can't really talk about how cool it is. Like, I really like Buddha vs. Yofuku. I think, yeah. You saw nothing. There was no evidence I such anything. Anyways. But, yeah. Buddha vs. Yofuku is really cool. I like the details of their backstories, with the two just having intersecting backstories and how and just in general being very closely linked. Their backstories is what links them in this fight, which really makes sense. I find Zero Fuku's a lot more interesting than Buddha's, I'm just gonna say, even though I like Buddha better as a character. I like how by the end they become friends, and because Buddha has cured him of his hatred and restored what is Zero Fuku's heart, essentially. It's all really fun details. Details. And then despite Buddha winning and sparing Papiasa's life, not Papiasa, Sufuku's life, then Beelzebub activates something put on Sufuku, a fucking demon. Yeah, I'm just gonna say it. I wish that they could have just left one of their fights off on a sweet ending where the loser doesn't necessarily die and it just becomes good friends with the winner. But then again, though, we wouldn't have by far one of my favorite fights. Arjun versus Buddha. Yeah, Buddha has to fight two separate opponents because after Zirofuku is consumed by this bastard, who goes by two separate names based on whichever one you look at. Yeah. I like this fight. Hate Papias. Like, he's constantly switching out with Poseidon for the worst character in the show, but I mean, he's fine enough, I guess, and his personality's fun, but I just can't forgive him for killing Zirofuku. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, he has a really cool set of abilities. This fight's where they really started exploring the potential abilities one of the gods can have, which is weird. Like, I forgot to bring it up during Zeus vs. Adam, but they could have thrown in one lightning bolt from Zeus, or like an electrically charged punch. It's so weird that most of the gods don't use their signature abilities. Thor even teleports in with lightning. You can't have him use a lightning charged attack on Lupu. Oh, whatever. At least they keep it original by giving them just new moves and abilities instead of just recycling stuff from other ideas from other stuff. I guess that's an advantage. But yeah. I like this fight enough. I like how Buddha's ability, which I didn't even bring up in the last one portion, Jesus, which is like seeing a person's soul and using that to predict what they're gonna do. Similar to Kojo, but very different. Because his is just straight up foresight. And slowly as the fight progresses, despite Buddha not being able to see Hajun's soul because it's just so dark that it's impossible to tell. And literally getting demolished throughout most of the fight. Buddha finally starts breaking through to Hajun and turning a heartless monster into a being that soul can be seen. Hajun's still killed, which is thank God. I love the way he's killed. After Hajun literally breaks through every single one of Buddha's weapons, leaving him without a weapon, he pulls out Zirofuku's weapon, the what was it called? Extraction something. I don't feel like looking it up right now. Oh, literally, he combining with Ziofuku's soul, which for some reason has survived, and becoming a new weapon altogether, using that to not to use a special technique that only he knew. He a special technique in order to win, and kill Hachun. It's by far one of my favorite fights. It's like third favorite, right behind Hercules versus Jack. Uh, uh, and I really like it. Moving on, I guess, because I gotta wrap this up. Well, I think the show gets hate easy. People watch Slow vs. Lulu, sees how many long shots there are, and they assume that's how it is throughout the rest of the show. Which I guess isn't necessarily wrong for season 1. But also there's the fact that they're just ignoring all the good character writing, all the fun exchanges, the good fights, and pretty much just everything that gives the show its charm. It's not one of my favorite animes, like it's top 10, yes, but not top 5. Probably like 7 or so. But at the same time, I just don't care. This show has so many hits and whatnot that's good parts by far outweigh its bad. And I wish that people would start admitting that instead of being so stubborn and saying that it's bad because it has too many long shots. Which doesn't even have too many long shots most of the time. I think they're just being way too harsh on it. But whatever, I can't change the internet's opinion on it, I guess. Especially when I'm so small I only get like 20 views on a video per video or so. But it would help if I upload for more than just 4 months apart each time, but screw it, I don't want. I never have time to upload properly on a weekly schedule, so yeah. Especially now. That I'm working on an entire fan project for Danganronpa. Which, yeah, I'm gonna try to talk about the next other 2 games sometime soon. As in within the next year. Final thoughts? I love this anime. I can't really say anything else about it. I love it. I highly recommend it. I didn't even kind of get into too much detail about all the fights. Like, if you watched it and let yourself get spoiled by everything, by this video, then I had something, sorry. And yeah, I spoiled the entire show. Was generally endings of the fights, but at the same time, there's plenty more to enjoy than just the conclusions of the fights. I highly recommend it. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Remember, I'm looking for an editor, so if anyone's interested, then let me know. Have a nice day, I guess. Just remember to stay peaceful, keep a zen mind, and this is a space where we all share our thoughts. I'd like to hear your thoughts on Ragnarok if you have any. Bye-bye.